People who squeeze into overcrowded rubber dinghies at sea and hope that the fragile vehicle will bring them to the shore alive. Scenes like this take place over and over again in the Mediterranean. But they are also almost part of everyday life in the English Channel, which separates Great Britain and France. According to official figures, more than 4,000 people made their way across the canal from the French coast this year in the first 5 months of the year. And in June, a new record was even set with more than 2,000 crossings, according to the BBC. The year before, more than 8,000 people came. And that's a lot for such a dangerous route on which people are repeatedly killed because of the strong currents or boat accidents, but still a manageable number for a country with around 66 million inhabitants. But the picture of the full refugee boats are a problem for the government in London. As is so often the case, this is also due to Brexit, to regain control of one's own border. That was one of the promises with which the Vote Leave campaign convinced its supporters to leave the EU. Immigration is much less of a concern with the UK population today than it was 5 years ago, said Jonathan Portes, immigration expert at the UK in a Changing Europe think tank. Nevertheless, Interior Minister Priti Patel has made it into her head to carry out the promise. People who hit the coast in Dover unannounced are seen in circles of the Conservative Tory party as a sign of a loss of political control. We have an interior minister who has a reputation for being an ideological right-wing conservative pro-Brexit hardliner. She built her career on it, they say, explains Ports. Just recently, the 49-year-old who comes from an Indian-Ugandan family was photographed next to the police when smugglers were arrested. She likes to think semi-publicly about stopping rubber dinghies with warships or relocating asylum seekers to African centers. We are not ruling out any option that could reduce illegal migration and reduce the pressure on our broken asylum system, said the Interior Ministry when asked. A judgment confirmed Patel that accommodations for asylum seekers do not meet the minimum standards for corona protection. Britain's exit from the EU not only means that the days of free living and work in the country are over for EU citizens. According to current plans, a two-class system is to apply to asylum seekers in the future. Refugees who have come into the country illegally, for example, should have long-term disadvantages and restrictions compared to those who arrive legally. However, the possibilities for legal immigration are complicated and limited, and therefore often no alternative. The project even called on the United Nations, whose refugee agency UNHCR clearly criticized the plan. According to a statement, Great Britain played a key role in agreeing the Refugee Protection Convention in 1951. If the British implement the discriminatory two-tier system as planned, it would violate the agreement and weaken the system worldwide, so the criticism. According to the UNHCR, 82.4 million people worldwide were displaced last year. That's more than ever before. Great Britain as an island is not a typical arrival point for them. Many countries on the continent are much easier to reach, especially from the Middle East or Africa. Last year, the numbers in Great Britain even fell again, and with around 8,600 asylum applications approved by the end of March, fell by around a quarter compared to the previous year and overall to the lowest level since 2012. The fact that the number of crossings on the English Channel is increasing has to do with the fact that the situation around the nearby northern French port city of Calais is still tense. Again and again, camps are formed in which the migrants live under dire circumstances. The police regularly dissolve these makeshift shelters. Politicians from the region warn of a new jungle and complain about a lack of support from Paris, but also from London. In 2016, the so-called Calais jungle was dissolved, where thousands remained under unworthy conditions. Local associations complain that there is still no permanent solution for the people. To escape this situation, some refugees try to get on board trucks that are traveling to England by ferry or through the railway tunnel. Others choose the dangerous crossing with small boats over the 50-kilometer wide canal, and tugs also offer their services. It was not until Tuesday that 46 migrants were rescued from small boats during several operations in the channel, according to the French Sea Prefecture. According to the AFP agency news, 11 people were completely hypothermic and one woman suffered burns to her legs. Expert Ports also believes the increase in crossings is a side effect of the pandemic. Many of the planes or trains that refugees came to Great Britain on in other times stood idle for months. So it's not an increase in the flow of refugees, but actually the opposite, explains the migration researcher. The electricity has only become more visible and the conditions more dangerous. Interior Minister Patel does not want to accept that. In negotiations, she tries to persuade EU states to take back refugees, so far unsuccessfully, and since they're out, they don't have to take them back anymore. That was pretty predictable, says Ports. With Brexit, the government knowingly withdrew from the Dublin Agreement, which provides for similar rules. For EU countries, which often have to cope with much higher numbers of refugees, there is therefore no incentive to do the UK this favor. And I'll see you in my next video. Auf Wiedersehen, and later, of course, in the live stream, 6 p.m. CET.